I am at the Garden, and it's great to be with you, GP. We can get going with St. John's, UConn. I know you saw the game. What are your thoughts? How do you want to tee it up? I love these podcasts where we're kind of fast and loose and just kind of going wherever.
Yeah. So big game, Madison Square Garden, big game, Midtown Manhattan, a blowout ultimately in the Big East. The final score was number 10 St. John's 89, unranked UConn 75. St. John's led by as many as 22, won the game by 14. So that means Hall of Famer Rick Pitino has completed the regular season sweep of the best coach in the effing sport to improve to 24-4 overall, 15-2 in the Big East. That means if Creighton loses to Georgetown in a game that's about to tip off, the Johnnies will officially today be Big East champions for the first time since 1992. If Creighton wins, which is the more likely scenario, St. John's will then have to wait until Wednesday at Butler to try to secure the Big East title. But either way, this is happening. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. St. John's will soon be either co-Big East champs for the first time since 1992 or outright Big East champs for the first time since 1985. And it's probably going to be outright champs, probably going to be by multiple games. Norlander, you just did 3 games in 3 days. 2 of them were non-competitive. My apologies, my condolences.
Yeah.
We're going to touch on all 3. Let's start with St. John's over UConn. On paper, fun matchup. Scene looked great. In reality, lopsided game.
Yeah, let's focus on this one first. But I will just say today and then last night, man, the energy, the vibe, the anticipation in the Garden. I know if you're listening and you hear it can sound a little bit trite. I'm just telling you, when you're fortunate enough, no matter what walk of life, if you're there as a fan, if you're working the game, if you're coaching the game, you're playing in the game, and you get this all around the country. Don't get me wrong, but at the Garden to have a non-conference game in late February, and then you get St. John's and UConn playing in the Garden for the second time in as many years, where it felt big. It was awesome, and it was such a freaking downer, GP, that both of these games just turned into duds. Now, this one wasn't as much of a dud as Duke, Illinois. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go. I'll give you my thoughts on St. John's first and then UConn, then take it away. The plot development here for St. John's, and I don't expect this to be a major shift in personality, but St. John's has now gone 2 games in a row here, GP, where it has shot better than 40% from three-point range. Now, coming into the day, St. John's still ranked outside of the top 325, I guess, or 330 in three-point accuracy as the KenPom pages refreshes. 336. It is now above 30% for the season from three-point range. It's 30.2%. But between the DePaul game, I get it, it's DePaul, but still, you were able to go out in that game, shoot 9 of 21 for 43%, and then here they got out hot. They only took 19, but they made 8 of them. That equates to 42.1% there, and I think that's a key development. You also had Aaron Scott, 13 points. Kadari Richmond had 18. Now, Rick said in the postgame that Rick is obviously, you and I both know that occasionally sometimes Rick Pitino will say something that then proves to be not correct. Like he even said that Davon Smith he said he wouldn't play in this game, and then he played in it. So he was having a little bit of fun with that in the postgame presser. But amid all that, he was trying to be as earnest and serious as possible. Kadari Richmond, he said 99% of players would not have played with the injuries that he's dealing with, but he would not take no for an answer. And he was so sore and banged up afterward, he couldn't even he wanted to even go to the press conference, but he couldn't do it. So keep an eye on that. Richmond's probably not going to play in St. John's next game at minimum, if not miss a couple of their. Overall, the Johnnies are 24-4. They're going to win the Big East. They're going to be the 1 seed. The last time St. John's swept UConn in the regular season was 99-2000. That Johnnies team was a 2 seed. This Johnnies team could be a 2 seed if it wins the Big East tournament. We'll see. And then my other side with UConn, Hurley was, he was straightforward in the postgame press conference. Zero excuses. Highly complimentary of what Pitino's built at St. John's. And admitted, we just don't have the kind of defensive adaptability this season that we've had the past couple of years. And there are teams that are just straight up bad matchups for us. And this is a bad team. And, we can only hope that they aren't going to shoot well from 3. That wasn't the case. They did. And if they've got that going, forget it. It's over. He compared St. John's to Houston, which I think in many ways that comparison makes a lot of sense. I think a good thing for UConn is that Alex Caravan, he got off to a slow start. He had 2, maybe 4 points at halftime, finishes with 17. He woke up a little in the second half. Hopefully for UConn, even though it's a losing effort, he can now transfer this 3 of the next 4 for the Huskies are at home. I said it on HQ about 25 minutes ago when I did the hit Parrish. I could see a situation like if you want to look at this game and say, okay, now, UConn, all ideas that this team is actually going to be a factor in March and tossing out the window. If you want to say that, I'm not going to say you're incorrect. I would be more likely to agree than disagree with you. But I do think there might be something to UConn getting 3 of its final 4 at home. Maybe it can get into a little bit better of a groove. And then when it gets to the Big East tournament, we'll see. I mean, UConn fans filled up probably. I said I was weirdly specific on Twitter. I thought it was a 68-32 split in the building. And when UConn plays in the Big East tournament, they're going to have more than 32% of the fans at the time of their specific game. You hope for a tighter game. It wasn't that. Those are kind of my broad takeaways overall. And UConn's guard play is just got to be. It's just got to be so much better, man. It's just not there. It continues to not be there. It's the team's biggest downfall. Take it away. Your thoughts on it.
Well, I'll take them in whatever order they come to my head.
Yeah.
With Kadary, I have no idea what to make of what Rick said because, as you noted, he says stuff like this not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah.
and sometimes it just doesn't turn out to be true. And I want to be clear because I think Greg McDermott had fun with this earlier in the week. He was like, "Do you guys believe anything he says ever?" Because I think he was like, Davon Smith's not playing, and then of course he did, and whatever it was, and. I don't think
RJ Lewis. RJ Lewis.
Yeah. I don't think Rick is actually like lying. I think he believes what he's saying. I just think
it's not a lie. It's not a lie.
If you believe it. Right. And I think sometimes he just, and I love Rick Pitino. I enjoy, obviously respect him professionally, enjoy him personally. I say this the way I would say it about one of my best friends who just has a habit of just saying things that don't turn out to be true. I would laugh about it. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not criticizing. I'm laughing. I think it's hilarious. So when he says Kadary can barely walk, he's got double. What was it? Double something. He's got a double something.
Whatever he said in the presser, I was typing. I might have missed it. He's dealing with multiple issues all over his body. Yeah, it's a serious.
It sounds serious. I don't know whether it is or not, but it does sound serious.
Does it?
I guess what I would say is this: all you have to do to win at least is share the Big East. And I know you want to win every game and win it outright, win it by multiple games. I know that, but you got to beat Seton Hall at home next Saturday, and that'll do it.
Yes.
So if he is really as hurt as Rick said, I'd shut him down for a minute.
It's by the way. It is groin injury, but
I can't say that word. You get.
I know it's the groin.
It's a soft tissue injury is the way I prefer to say it. So I don't know but if he is really as banged up and hurting as much as Rick implied, I would set him out Butler. I'd sit him out Seton Hall. I would tell my team I think we're good enough to go win both these games without him. So let's go win both of them without him and see if we can look up and have him back for regular season finale at Marquette. And by then you might already have the Big East title wrapped up. Like you mentioned the defense, Dan talked about it in the post game. He compared it to Houston or compared them to Houston. Houston and St. John's are second and third right now in adjusted defensive efficiency. According to KenPom, Tennessee is number 1. They're both overwhelming defensive teams. Just they overwhelm you. There was a quote from Bobby Hurley about Houston recently where he said, when you're playing them, it feels like they have 6 players on the court. I know they don't, but that's what it feels like. And St. John's sometimes can feel similarly. So listen, when you're the back-to-back champs, Big East favorite, preseason top 5, going for a three-peat, you don't ever expect to get swept in the regular season by anybody. But the truth is, once you lose the home game, you're probably getting swept. Because here's the truth. St. John's ain't lost to anybody in that building or in the other one all year long. And I literally don't think I would pick anybody to beat them in the Garden. You put anybody in the Garden against them tomorrow at 7 p.m. And I think I would have to take the Johnnies at home. Auburn, Duke, anybody. So I say that only to say I don't freak out about UConn losing at the Garden or UConn even losing by double digits at the Garden. I think most people would have. But UConn is being judged, measured by its own expectations and its own accomplishments. And I think I'm getting to the point with that team where I'm not out on them like there's no way they'll even get to the round of 32 or even the Sweet 16. But I would be very surprised at this point if that team was in the Final Four for the 3rd straight year. I could see them second week. I could see anything. Let me be clear. I could imagine anything. NC State was in the Final Four last season. Sure. I can imagine anything.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like a Final Four caliber team to me.
Yeah, Hurley did say that he thought today was the first time since Maui that, and these are my words, not his, but they basically like definitively got their ass kicked. Like, some of the losses he called the other ones that they've had since then excruciating, but they were closer. They were more in doubt. They lost in one way or another. And to his point, I mean, Nova by 2 on January 8th, January 18th, Creighton by 5, January 25th, Xavier by 4, February 7th, and Gamble, St. John's by 6. February 15th at Seton Hall by 1 in overtime, and then today. So his point is true there. But as I pointed out on Twitter, St. John's UConn doesn't have 2 consecutive wins against top 100 KenPom teams in more than 2 months. It's been win-loss for the most part for about 6 weeks now. Keep that in mind.